Hi guys. Before
Hi.
we go into the new album, first a question that
I
dates
dribbled.
way back.
Excuse me.
Do you recall the first album that you bought being a kid?
Ooh. I think the first album was probably an Oasis album. What's the Story, Morning Glory.
And for you?
I think as an album. I think my first single I ever bought was Two Unlimited, No Limits.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And for you?
Yeah, but it's probably an Oasis record as well. The same one, in fact, or perhaps even the one after that. Be Here Now.
Be Here Now. And because you're both born in the same year, so I was thinking maybe you share some music that you listened to while growing up? Do you know from each other?
When we were... yeah, probably. Yeah, I think I didn't get into music as much until probably a later age than Miles was. I don't know, I think he just did, as always, has his finger on the pulse a lot more than I do. Even now, I mean, he's always turning me on to the new shit.
What is the latest that you've turned him on to?
I mean, it's not just music, it's everything.
Yeah.
Culture.
The way of life.
The way of life.
An attitude.
Yeah. Is what I turned him on to.
And do you still, if you listen to those Oasis albums, the second and the third one, so Be Here Now and What's the Story, does it still have the influence on you than when you first heard it?
We're still singing in the hairbrush to that one, in the
Yeah.
mirror, you know. Who doesn't?
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Then, well, less Shadow Puppets. First album, 2008, almost eight years ago. Do you still sing those albums into the brush, or?
Oh, I do. Every Sunday afternoon.
No, it's been 8 years. What are your thoughts on? What are your thoughts on that album?
On the first one, yeah, it's still.
It's a bit mad in places.
Yeah.
No, I think it's.
Some of it's alright.
Some of it's alright. Yeah. Well, we think when
a bit off piece sometimes, lyrically too far.
But I think that is acceptable, and I think it was definitely then. But I think now a lot of them songs still sound bloody great today.
And what did you do? When did you revisit that first album before you actually said to each other, well, let's do a second one?
No, we didn't like sit down and listen to the first one and think that. I think we talked about it on and off over years to ride the wave again, so to speak, you know. And then a couple of years ago we wrote a song called Aviation, and we made a little demo in Alex's rooftop, and that was then, when we listened back to that, it felt quite a puppety song, and that was when we started to think about doing a second album.
When did you record this album? I mean this song, Aviation, when was it written?
Oh, it was written about 2 years ago.
And was there any thoughts back then of doing a second album, or was it just one get together and see what you could do together?
Yeah, well, that's very much what it was. The latter. At that point, we were writing together for something. Didn't know that it was necessarily going to be this, but there was something about that song that seemed particularly puppety to us, and so. It was at that time that we thought, shall we just go back in the studio and make another record?
Yeah, that was it basically. Like, it was just like having a pint.
It was 2 years ago, and do you know what month? Just to date back and see, because you both released albums in 2013. Was it after you released both of your Arctic Monkeys album?
It was just after that. You're quite right. It was just after that. I believe 2014, January
24.
towards the end. January.
But what strikes me then, because you both had your albums out, how did you find the time to actually come together and do this?
There was a couple of times where we'd be hanging out on each other's couches or play, you know, when we weren't working. But I think around that time, I think we were both coming towards the end of the cycles that we were on at that point. Or maybe not. I think.
New Year's Day.
Yeah.
You wrote a riff.
Yeah, New Year's Day is when it was. The riff for Aviation.
New Year's Day, yeah.
On 2014.
Yeah.
That was where the riff was born.
There's still...
But it was still a long way to
sort
go
of
then.
Streamers and balloons halfway through the deflation process littered around the room.
But did you write with each other before 2014 too, or?
We have done over the years with little things. Like Alex had helped me on my first solo record. We did some songs together on that album. I'd sung on a B-side with his band called the Whirl Riddler, and what else?
I think
that
you've
was
covered
it.
it there,
I think
yeah.
that's
I think
it.
We've covered that, and we have nearly pinpointed the date.
And what was it for you that made this song Aviation something to suit this your project together?
You know what, Martin? It's hard to put your finger on it.
Yeah,
But
it was
there's
just like a little
something in
switch.
there that, unlike the other things we'd even written together sometimes, there's something about this where you just said, "Oh, my God, this is for the public."
This is
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when did you actually then record? Well, it's been 11 songs, so you have to write 10 more after this. When did you do this? Was it maybe done within a few weeks or every bit now and then?
It was a little bit now and then, but mainly we homed in last year, sort of for the first half of last year, and the majority was kind of written then.
And did you actually decide that James and Zach and Owen would be on this project too?
Yeah, I think for a moment we always thought that James and Owen would do it, and then Zach we've become very close with Zach over the past couple of years, and it just seemed it'd be cool and fun to have him to play with us, and it was.
Cool and fun and nice.
Yeah.
And if what songs? Aviation was the first song then. Is it also one of the key songs for you on the album?
Aviation?
Yeah.
No, it's the worst one. No.
First and
Joking. No, it is. It seemed like a great opener to the album. You know, I think we juggled around with the track listing a bit on this one, but that was always going to start it. We all decided that. You know, it's just one of them.
And the song Everything You've Come to Expect. It's the fourth song on the album, but it's also the album title.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more important than the other ones? Because it's being the album title, or is it not for you?
Well, I think there was an element of us trying to draw a particular attention to it, Martin. Yes, you're quite right.
Mm-hmm.
And what attention did you want to draw to it?
Well, I think it probably is, in my mind, the most adventurous.
Yeah.
Can you help me how the song was written?
The song was written. Okay. Yes. It was originally. It's going to sound crazy.
You're gonna think
But-
we're bloody mad.
It was another song entirely with a very different feel.
Mm-hmm. But lyrically had an appeal of what it was, and we use those lyrics for the verses on that song, but completely change the chords.
Yeah.
By using our little fingers more. When Alex is on the Vox Continental and he took the chords from the original, you know, G minor and made it a G minor diminished sparkle. And then...
Yes, and just to add to that,
please do.
I just want to pick up on something you said. We used our little fingers more, and in different ways.
And sometimes you didn't know what button you were pressing.
That's the thing with the keys, isn't it? Because it's not our first instrument, Martin, sometimes we don't know what button we're pressing with our little finger. And so I think that leads you to stumble across things that you wouldn't otherwise. Is that fair to say?
Stumble across.
Yes.
And who wrote the lyrics?
Whose little finger is going where?
The verse lyrics of the song were mainly written in Paris, actually.